thinking through how should I prepare for the LSAT, let's flip it. What should be the goal? And then that can kind of dictate how you prepare. So let's talk about the target score. There's all this talk about getting in the 170s, being in the 99th percentile. But really, what is the score that a student should aim for when they're thinking about law school? Thinking about not only getting in, but also securing scholarships and having some financial assistance.
So I'll take that one, and I'll say a few things. So for those of you who are just starting out on your law school journey or pre-law journey, something that you should become intimately aware of is a school's median. So every school reports data on what their median LSAT score is, as well as their median GPA. And so essentially what that median number reflects, it reflects the number of students. Half of our students that were admitted in the past year had above this LSAT score, half had below it, half had above this GPA, half had below it. And the reason why you should become familiar with a school's median LSAT score and GPA is because essentially most schools are trying to either accomplish the same median, get the same median the next year, or do better. And so that gives you a bit of a range to know, what you should be aspiring for. And so when it comes to scholarships, my sense is that due to the fact that COVID is a reality that I don't think is going away anytime soon, many schools' budgets are likely impacted by this. And so when it comes to scholarships, etc., many schools are probably going to have to restrict the number of scholarships that they give out in the future. And so currently, pre-COVID, and what I expect to be the sense even after COVID, is that scholarships are typically given out to students that are most competitive in terms of those numbers. And so to the extent that you can get at or above that median, that's going to give you probably the most competitive scholarship package. And so that's something that I just want to throw out. So find out a school's median numbers, etc. However, I don't know, I'm not on Facebook right now, but I don't know what percentage of the students watching this are underrepresented minorities. But to the extent that you're underrepresented minority, something that you should know is that students of color often perform worse on the LSAT than their white counterparts. And so to the extent that you are a student of color and you're thinking about taking the LSAT, keep that in mind, but I don't want you to be discouraged by that. What I want you to know, I know when I was applying to law school, no one ever talked about what their LSAT score was. No one ever said what was a good LSAT score. And if you're thinking that the only way you're going to get into a school is if you have that median LSAT score, you are mistaken. So again, that median number, half the students that get into a school have below it, half have above it. And so you don't necessarily have to have that number get in, but what you do need to know if you are a minority student and you're trying to be competitive is that you do want to have at least the median, the national average, so the national median LSAT score at least to be really competitive when you're applying to law school. I believe this past year, the 50th percentile of the LSAT was about a 153. I like to recommend to students that, keep taking practice tests until you're consistently scoring at least in that level, and that's going to give you the best chances of getting into a good law school. And we'll talk about kind of law school ranks later, etc. But to the extent that you can get in the 150s, that is your bare minimum, what I like to tell students you need to shoot for. Obviously, the higher you do on this test, the more opportunities you have with regard to law school acceptances as well as scholarships. And so if you're able to get in the 160s range, etc., definitely shoot for that. Something that I like to tell students, again, 150 minimum that you need to get. So make sure you're studying until you get there. Do not take the LSAT just to see how you score. That's a really bad idea. You need to do practice tests beforehand. Although many law schools will look at your highest LSAT score when you apply, there are some law schools that will average your LSAT score. There are many law schools that even though they'll look at your highest LSAT score, if there's a big variance between your lowest score and your highest score, there's going to be a red flag there. And so the best thing that you can do for yourself is really study and prepare for the LSAT before you sit down for it. Do not just take the LSAT to see where you score and then start studying after the fact. So those are kind of the key things to know about the LSAT.
So when thinking about how to prepare for the LSAT, you can always go to the Barnes & Noble or the Amazon and pick up the book. Like the Princeton Review book or Kaplan books are really popular. I don't advise people use that method, quite frankly. And this is where you'll start to see, the difference between just applying to law school and making a strategic, concerted effort to give yourself the best position possible when applying and getting money. I mean, that's just it. And so the 150s are the goal. That's like the baseline goal. But you really want to get the highest score of possible, which is a 180, right? So aiming for the 160s, at least, to give yourself the most competitive opportunity.